Hello, and welcome to a new episode of Ramblings from Two Meddling Kids. I'm Edward Hunt, joined by my fellow co-host.
See, you're gonna do it again. You're gonna say lover. I feel like you knew. I knew you were. Mike Cunningham.
There we go, and we are the Meddling Kids. And today we'll be reviewing Crazy Stupid Love. For those of you joining us for the first time, welcome. We like to review movies, and we'll never spoil anything. And let's call it the first 5-10 minutes or so. For those of you who've come back, hey, good to see you again. But we will give you a spoiler-free review from 0 to 5, then give you some background about the movie. Then we'll start doing like a little bit of like a play-by-play, scene-by-scene where spoilers start happening. But 0 to 5, Mike, Crazy Stupid Love, are you ready?
Yes.
Let's hear it. What'd you give it?
3.5.
Okay.
I really enjoyed the performances from Steve Carell, Ryan Gosling, and Emma Stone.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what. I think the biggest part that I enjoyed about this movie was the performances, just because of the fact that, like, one, I really enjoy when a comedic actor gets to turn at the dramatic role or like a more serious role and really kills it.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve Carell has a filmography, where he's really shown those acting chops. So like Dan in Real Life, Foxcatcher,
Mm-hmm.
Seeking a Friend for the End of the World, I was talking to somebody about that yesterday. But I really enjoy his turns at a dramatic role, because he still finds ways to be comedic or
Mm-hmm.
satirical, or just like in a more subtle way, which I really enjoyed this performance from him. I really enjoyed the chemistry between him and Gosling, but also Gosling and Emma Stone.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about this, the other day, where it's just like, I don't know if Ryan Gosling is the catalyst for a great performance from them two, or just the fact that like they're all just really really good actors. But it was just like the chemistry, I think, really the chemistry in this movie really is what makes it something that I really enjoy. And then alongside with the writing, I think it had a lot of this was, I guess, not a huge cast, but there was a lot of subplots in this movie, and they found a way to make them all just very make it so very cohesive, where
Mm-hmm.
it's just like it makes sense. It wasn't like there was like really plot twist or anything like that, where it was just like it wasn't going to make sense. I think they found a way to make the story meld together in a really good way. Um, like I said, I think my only issues with this movie were just the fact that, because I don't think it's technically a rom com, but it has a lot of rom com tropes, and
Mm-hmm.
they really lean into them at times. And it was like I find myself, like, since I'm not big into rom coms, whenever I see like those tropes like played off, like, sorry, done, um, I guess really campy, it takes me out of the film. So it's just like that's my only real issue. But outside of that, I really enjoy this movie. Really enjoy the performances and the story and the writing. So 3.5.
Nice. Cool. Yeah, Crazy Stupid Love for me, it's a 4. I love this movie. I think it's a really good one. In the romantic comedy realm, I think it's probably like my favorite romantic comedy. And I agree with a lot of what Mike said. And first and foremost, performances are great, especially Ryan Gosling in this movie. He's phenomenal. It's so ridiculous in a good way how you can tell everything that man is thinking just from his facial expressions. And while he's wearing sunglasses. Like, you're looking at him, and then all of a sudden he'll just give you a look. And it's just like, that tells you everything you need to know about what his thoughts are. Yeah, his chemistry with Steve Carell is great. They have a really interesting relationship as like mentor, father figure, etc., which is really interesting. Him and Emma Stone, I mean, they've been in so many movies together now. We know that Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone works, but this was the first one of that, so it kind of set the ground for all of that. Really negatives about this movie. I guess there's one character, Robbie. He's
Mm-hmm.
just a little like, that's, you know, he's child actor. Child acting is very hard, of course,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. I wonder if a different actor might have been able to pull it off, but at the same time, like, he's such like a anchor for everyone, and like for some of the life lessons that get learned. So some of his scenes just came off a little as like meh in comparison to like the Steve Carell, everyone else.
I think
Mhm.
we talked about this before. We're just like understanding that because of the fact that what this movie did it was showing you different stages of love, right? So like,
Yeah.
even though I didn't, like I said, for me, I didn't necessarily hate his the actor's performance. Sorry, like
Mhm.
it was just like the actual character's story, right? So I was like, wasn't critiquing the actor. It was more like the character itself. But it was just like I think it was necessary to see like the young love, the budding love, and then like a love that's kind of gone stale and has to be kind of reignited. And I
Mhm.
think that's what this movie was. It was like different stages of it. So like I get from a storytelling point why Robbie's story was very important. But
Mhm.
it was also a little I mean I'm 30 now. Like I'm not a teenager anymore. So it was just like a lot of the corniness of it or the cringiness of like young love is
Mhm.
something that like I'm thrown off by now. But it was like if I was, 15 or some shit like that, it was like, yeah, I get it. Like these
Yeah.
grand gestures, this profession of love and all these things that he was doing. But I know I definitely agree with you that he was a character that I was turned off by, but it was like I think it's because I'm a little bit older. I don't
Fair.
know if I would have felt the same way a decade ago
Yeah.
about that character.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point as well. And I think, yeah, to really sum it up too, another thing I do love about this movie is, as Mike said, it is the different stages of love, right? Like you see so much, there's so much realism in here because as unfortunate it is as it is, I guess maybe light spoiler, but like marriages end. So like, and then because of that, a lot of times you can see it's because both parties aren't trying as hard anymore, and then you get like a really brutal glimpse into that world. But then you do see like the young budding love and how like fun and exciting that is, and then you just see all the stages. And because of that realism of this movie and the different kinds of love, it's going to be one of my top, rom com movies. So again, 4 to 5 for me, 3 to 5 for Mike. We'd say if you haven't seen this yet, you should probably see this movie. And hey, Valentine's Day is coming right up, so if you need an idea, you're welcome. Let's get into some background on this thing. How crazy and stupid does it get, Mike?
See, not enough, and that's a negative. But yeah, so Crazy Stupid Love was released on July 29th, 2011. Actually, we were talking about this. The fun fact is the fact that I think as they were shooting, they didn't have a true name for the movie. So
Mm.
like the filmmakers offered an iPad back in 2011. So I assume it's
Ooh,
the equivalent of $1 million. But
the
um,
golden ticket
they
right there.
offered somebody like an iPad for anybody in the crew that could come up with a good title for the movie. Steve Carell had gone on to say that he thought like the wingman or something like that really like focused on Cal's journey in this movie, but like Crazy Stupid Love was not the original title of this movie. They went through a few rounds, it seems. But yeah, the runtime is an hour and 58 minutes. The budget was 50 million. The box office was 147 million. So a relative
Nice.
hit. The Rotten Tomatoes, you have a 79 for the critics, 78 for the audience. So it seems like everybody really enjoys this one.
Mm-hmm.
The genre is comedy drama. It was directed by Glenn Ficarra, and John Requa, who seem to be writing partners. I think they have a total of like 4 films together. So
Mm.
it's like I Love You, Philip Morris, Focus with Will Smith and Margot Robbie, and then Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. Jesus Christ, I'm so sorry. The cast is Steve Carell as Cal, Julianne Moore as Emily, Emma Stone as Hannah, Ryan Gosling as Jacob, Marissa Tomei as Kate, Lilo Tipton, sorry, as Jessica. And we talked about that before. Like I think her name is like Anna Lee or something like that because she was on
Mm.
America's Got Talent. No, she's Chris.
Top model. Yeah.
America's Got Talent.
Yeah.
I mean, she does have talent.
Right.
America's Next Top Model. Um, Kevin Bacon is David Lindhagen.
David Lind Hagen.
Jonah Bobo as Robbie and Jodie King as Molly. And then the tagline is "This is crazy."
Yeah, it didn't really get that crazy.
It did. Like we were saying before, I think that was the a lot of critics um critiques of it or like being critical of it was the fact that it was like it did not get as crazy as they
Yeah.
expected. But I think, and as we talked about, I think the craziness of it is was like this movie is very grounded.
Mm-hmm.
So it is like I said, it's the craziness of like divorce, and like love starting. It was obviously being out in bars and clubs and trying to meet people and like the um I don't know. I think it was just like I don't think the title is necessarily misleading.
Hmm.
I think it's because of the fact that we're so used to outlandish
Yeah,
rom coms and stuff like that, and constant like the meet cute and it being something like either tragic or like out grandstanding or some shit like that. But it was just like no, this is in theory, love itself is crazy.
that's
Like
true.
you don't need it to be something over the top.
Yeah,
And like the fact that it was like I have to like not you as a person has to like try to woo someone or some shit like that. Like that shit is wild. But I think because of the fact that we've seen crazy shit in other films or like just in rom coms because of to be entertained. I think that's what a lot of people are expecting. But like I think this one was grounded in more realism, and that's why it hit.
yeah,
Um,
definitely. Yeah, completely. And I think maybe like the craziness is just love makes people feel crazy things, but that's an
yeah,
internal thing. So, yeah. But cool. Awesome. Thank you so much, Mike. Before we hop on to our spoiler section, we start breaking down the movie scene by scene. Hey, quick word from our sponsors. This guy. What's going on? I'm Edward Hunt on the Just Be team of Compass. We're all about finding where you're meant to be. So we work in the DMV, that's DC, Maryland, and Virginia. But more than just advising on the housing market, if you need any resources with contractors, handymen, lenders, etc., we have a lot of phenomenal people that I can connect you with. Also, a great thing about Compass is we are a nationwide brokerage. So no matter where you are in America, if you have need of a real estate professional, reach out and I can connect you with that person. And Edward Hunt of Hunt Comics. Hey, I've Evil is a Weapon issue 1. It's up on Amazon, Global Comics, and we're hard at work on issue 2. I would love for everyone to check it out and tell me what you think. But all right, let's get started. Crazy Stupid Love. What's going on? I'm sure it's like a lot of chaos ensues immediately, right? What are we seeing?
I mean, if chaos is your thought of like just a bunch of feet, yeah.
Yeah, well, there you go.
But yeah, so we started in a restaurant. It's like a sweeping shot of like a bunch of couples like in their feet for some. I do not know. But once again, I think Tarantino was in a
He has impacted the film industry in ways just
sure,
profound. All
but I
right.
think it's because so it shows like different like like couples at a restaurant. They're kind of playing footsies and stuff like that. But we sweep to a pair of fucking New Balances and it's very fancy. And I think maybe that was the point. But
Hmm.
yeah, we sweep to a pair of New Balances and like fucking loose khakis and some shit like that. And we meet our main character Cal. And he's at dinner with his wife, and like from the jump, from like just like piecing things together, it was just like he seems out of place in this fancy restaurant.
Hmm.
And I think that we like what I loved about this is the fact that like obviously filmmaking and movies are a very visual medium. So it's like exposition is fine. It's like it's necessary to a point, but I think you can show things visually, or like you talked to earlier with Ryan Gosling and the subtlety of his like facial expressions and like just that acting, right? Like says so much more than like having and people explain it. So it's just like what I loved about this is like in this opening scene, meeting Cal, you know everything you need to know about this character without them having said anything.
Absolutely.
And so
Yeah.
like he's very much like he's wearing fucking New Balances in a fancy restaurant, and he's like his hair is shaggy. Like I think he also has like a polo on. Is like everything just about Cal says content and not giving a fuck.
Yeah.
And it was just like when we see like later in the scene, it was just like, oh, it makes sense why these things happen, and it's because of the fact that he seems like somebody that's kind of given up in life or
Yeah.
is no longer trying. And
Yeah.
it was like you got that from without him even speaking a word, and then
Hmm.
when he does, like it furthers what you're seeing. So it's like I can really appreciate that from a filmmaking standpoint. It was just like you're utilizing the visual aspect of this medium very well. Sorry, I
Yeah.
cut.
No, no, absolutely. Yeah, because I mean, I completely agree. And like, it's almost crazy because, like, I'm sure in his mind, he's kind of thinking, he's like, hey, no, I am trying. Like, I'm wearing khaki pants, I'm wearing like a polo, and you just like, but it's just so, like, you just see it all the time. It's like comfortable trying, like
Mhm.
that's from that style. And it is like the epitome of like the dad style that got made fun of for years with like, yeah, the
Mhm.
New Balances, the high socks, everything. And it, even from like the conversation having, you're just like, yep, this is a marriage where they've been together for a while and Not looking too hot
Yeah.
for sure.
It was like, yeah, then we finally actually meet the character, and it was like, they're talking across the table. There's like very mundane conversations, very, very like, we're a couple, like you said, it's a couple that's, they're just making small talk, but as a
Mm,
married couple for over like 20 years. And then, so Emily, we meet his wife, Emily, and she's, like scanning the menu, and she was like, I can't decide what I want for
mhm,
dessert. And like, he was like, all right, we'll just say that we'll count to three, and like, we'll say what we want. And
good.
so he says, 3, 2, 1. And I think he said something about like the tiramisu or some shit like that. And she goes, I want a divorce.
When the records stop, everyone looks like,
Yeah. And this is also another subtlety of it. Like I said, I really enjoyed Steve Carell's performance
Mhm,
as a dramatic actor, right? But it was just like he still found ways to slip in that his sense of humor and that satire. And I
mhm,
think it's all in that delivery because, like in Cal's mind, he's just, bro, we're just picking out desserts, right? And it's like that's what we're doing. But his reaction to it, which is kind of even not even a reaction, but it was just like that initial like we're just like, what?
mhm.
But yeah, so she says she wants a divorce, and like he's like really taken aback, but he doesn't say much. And this is once when we talked about it, it was just like even his lack of reaction speaks to
Yeah.
what the character is, that character's either motivations or lack thereof or anything like that, or like his contributions to this relationship. And so they leave the restaurant, they head home, and Emily is like trying, like confused because she was like, obviously she just told her husband of X amount of years that she wants a divorce, and he hasn't said anything. And like I couldn't tell if that was like shock from the character standpoint or the fact that like maybe Cal like truly does not give a fuck, or he's like he really does not. He hasn't been present
Yeah.
in this relationship for a very long time. So it was, I like that I couldn't figure it out. I mean, that's
Mhm.
fine. It's not that crazy. But it was like Emily is like off her, because she was like, say something, do something, like
Yeah.
react or whatever it is. And he's just not. He's just sitting in the car in the passenger seat, um, just really just like kind of numb.
Yeah.
And I can't tell as to why. Like I said, I can't tell if he's numb out of like his reaction or just he's been numb the whole time. And it's like,
Yeah.
and
It's just like he's just, accepting of things going on, not necessarily like changing things that are there. And yeah, like you don't necessarily know completely why, but it's just he's like, well, this is terrible. Clearly he feels bad about it, as we see here in a second, but it's just like, how do you not show any passion in that moment?
yeah,
Right? Like that's a very passionless life, which
yeah.
is very hard. Yeah.
And so Emily, because she's just rambling and like kind of talking to herself, she admits that she slept with someone else,
Mhm.
David Lindhagen. God damn it! Like
Fucking David Lynn.
it's the rare time. It's like James Bond. It's like very few names where it's the first like the first and surname. Like
Mhm.
you can't just get away with the first name. But it was like, yeah, she slept with David Lindhagen. And
Mhm.
like she kind of starts going through details, and this is when Cal is finally like, "Please stop talking,
Yeah.
stop talking. I'm gonna jump out of the car." And like she keeps going, and so he jumps out of the car.
Because it is, don't get me wrong, it is odd. Like she's telling him, she's like very explicit details of like
Mhm.
her encounter with Lindhagen. And it's like, all right, I mean, like, come on, like I get you're
Yeah.
nervous and rambling, but that's rough. That's rough.
And so at the same time, we jump to their house, and the babysitter who's Jessica. She's like trying to get Molly, the younger sister, into bed. As it's late, the parents are about to come home, so she's trying to get her into bed. She goes to check up on Robbie, who's been in his room for a while, I guess. And
Mhm.
so she opens the door and like to him
Yeah.
playing with him. So
Mhm.
and so like she gets like freaked out, leaves or whatever, apologizes, and like she just goes to the living room to continue cleaning things up to like kind of avoid the situation. But Robbie, Mister, I don't give a fuck, no
Yep.
shame in my game, just comes out. It comes out of his room. Like initially, he's like, "Shit, what the fuck?" Kind of what just happened or whatever. And then
Yeah.
like he walks out, and so he starts to talk to Jessica, and she's just like, we don't have to talk about it. I apologize or whatever. Like, we can just literally this. It never happened.
Yeah.
And he was like, word. So anyway, And so like he goes on to talk about like fucking yes, he was doing that, and he was like, actually, I think of you when I do it.
Yeah.
Jessica's like, Jesus, Robbie, please.
Stop, sir. You are a 13-year-old boy.
Yeah, so like she does have a like sorry, he has a crush on her. And then
Mhm.
like right after, like as she was like cleaning up the living room or whatever, she looked at a photo of Emily and Cal, and she kind of put her thumb over Emily's photo. So
Yeah.
like obviously she has a thing for excuse me, for Cal or whatever.
Khaki pants. It does it for her, apparently. Just.
And so like as they're having this awkward exchange between Robbie and Jessica, Cal and Emily, arrive home. And like Jessica's trying to change the subject, so she was like, how was your night? And then like Emily, also trying to change the subject. She's like, were you able to get Molly to eat her broccoli? They're just kind
Yeah.
of talking, but like trying to avoid the situation between them. And then like Jessica asked Cal, how the night was, and he was like, well, Miss Weaver asked for a divorce.
Like, no chill. He is no
Sometimes
chill.
and it was like Robbie is also there, and he was like, shit, he kind of. I think this is the moment you do see him regret something, or like see some kind of remorse, or like some reaction to what's happening,
Mhm.
because he sees that Robbie's there, and he's like, I'm sorry you had to find out this way.
Yeah.
And it does seem like he's truly sorry, because it seems like something like they would have sat the kids down, try to figure out the correct way to articulate what's happening,
Yeah.
or
That's what
whatever.
they
But it
should
was,
have done instead
yeah.
of just blatantly saying it out loud like that.
But yeah, so we get that moment. Cal goes to drive Jessica home,
Mhm.
and then we meet Hannah, who's at a bar with her friend.
Mhm.
I didn't even get the actress's name or the character's name, but I feel like she was only in
Oh,
like
yeah.
4 scenes, so it's not
Yeah.
that crazy.
Not a
Actually,
ton.
maybe 2.
Mhm.
But yeah, so they're out having drinks or whatever, and like talking about. I think Hannah's, I think just finished law school, or is it finishing up law school or something like that.
Mhm.
And her friend says, makes comments about the fact that she's very PG-13. She's very kind of like boring, hasn't really lived life
Mhm.
or anything like that. And like Hannah's like downplaying this or whatever. And then we meet Jacob, and like we saw him in like in the background, kind of like looking at her.
Mhm.
And then he just comes over, and he was like, I mean, I had to come over, like your friend's, gorgeous or whatever, but like I couldn't stop looking at you. And it was like, you can't tell if, I mean, you would assume like this is just kind of like not a game, but it was like, this is like just a script. He says to kind of all the girls type of thing.
Mhm.
Um, Hannah's really not into it, but her friend is just like mesmerized by Ryan Gosling, which I get. He's a handsome man. He dresses very well. Like,
Yeah. I mean, come on. You see that suit, you're like, all right, yes, thank you for hitting on me. This is nice. I
yeah.
appreciate it.
But yeah, so Hannah's not really into it, but her friend is like giving out all this information. She was like, yes, she's very attractive to you. Yes.
Yeah. 100%. Don't worry, whatever she's saying, it doesn't matter. She is.
But yeah, so like he tries he tries hitting on her, tries to get her to come home, but like she's just not really into it. I mean, we do know that she has a boyfriend.
Yeah.
But I can't tell if like that was her motivation, or she just really wasn't into being hit on
Mhm.
at a club, or sorry, at a bar. Anyway, so shortly after, we get Cal at work.
Mhm.
I think it's like the day after the whole dinner or whatever. Excuse me. And like one of his coworkers come over, ask him something, and then like Cal kind of just blurts out, "Oh, you heard about Emily and I getting divorced?"
Yeah.
And his coworker's like, "Oh, divorce," because it was like clearly like the people in the office could tell something was off.
Mhm.
And he was like, "Oh, divorce. That's it.
Yeah,
We thought
he's
you
like, oh,
had
thank
cancer."
God, just a divorce. Oh, thank you, God. Yeah.
And so like he literally relays this message to the rest of the office. Like, "Oh, it's just divorce, everyone."
Yeah, exactly. It's not cancer. Don't worry. He's gonna live. And yet, on the way out, as you're going, he's just like, "Yes, it could be worse, buddy."
Yeah,
And Al, of course, is like, "It's just my life falling apart,
yeah,
guys.
yeah, yeah.
Awful, but yeah."
And so like after that moment in the office, like he moves out,
Mhm.
gets in like a 1-bedroom apartment by himself, and then he starts frequenting this bar.
Yeah.
Um, I think it maybe like a hotel bar. Like we went over before. I can't.
Yeah.
The logistics of this place is weird because it was just like it seems like very close to the mall, like close enough like you can see it from the windows.
Yeah. It's
So
also like
I don't know how fancy you can be if like you're connected to a mall. No disrespect.
well, and like the interior is very fancy looking. So I'm kind of like, what is this divorced dad doing at such like a fancy,
It was like, dude, no, he sold insurance. I was about to say because even like with because he goes on a shopping spree a little bit later, and it was just like I feel like
yeah, he's
you
got
got
some
bills,
kind of
my
money.
guy.
Yeah, he's got some kind of money. Yeah.
But yeah, so Cal starts frequenting this bar, and like he just gets drunk, and he's like he's constantly talking about the fact that like the stuff that's going on in his life,
hmm
to whoever will listen. So his bartenders, just like women and like guys like sitting next to him or whatever, and he's like just
Wait,
constantly talk. Sorry.
are you telling me, Mike, that if a guy or gal came up to you to hit on you and started talking about how their partner cheated on them and how they're like hated their life, that wouldn't do it for you? That's not the move?
I feel like I already do not like conversation outside,
Yeah.
and what a therapy session is not what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
6 or 7 beers in.
Mhm.
But yeah, so like he starts talking about like his wife cheating on him with David Lindhagen, and she made him a cuckold, and like he's constantly repeating
Yeah.
to
Like, you know
the
what a
point where like
couple is?
so like what happens? We do see he's at the same bar that Jacob's at, and
hmm
like so we see Jacob like in the once again still in the background, and then like one day like he's kind of just had enough, so he's sitting with some woman, and he hears Cal complaining at the bar about being a cuckold, and then
Yeah.
he just calls him over, and he was just like, Cal, even as he approaches, he was just like, so my wife's cheating on me, and like fucking Jacob just cuts him off. He was like, with David Lindhagen, right? And he was like, how would I know such an intimate detail about your life? And it was like,
Hmm.
because you won't shut the fuck up about it. And it was like, we don't know how long it's been, but it was like clearly most nights
Yeah.
Cal's in here like you literally drinking away his sorrows. And so
Which
like sorry, go ahead.
would bars even allow that? I'm just trying to think, like from a
I was
realistic
once again
perspective.
never worked at a bar.
Yeah.
Frequented bars, and it was like I feel like I could have been this person. Maybe.
I guess, but
So I'm not gonna talk shit about this man's situation. But it was like I assume there is I guess just an understanding or an expectation that like if you serve,
yeah.
this type of product, this is to be expected in this setting type of
I
thing.
suppose.
I
Yeah.
mean, granted, you do have bars like cutting people off if they get like too
Mhm.
much or whatever. But it was like it's to be expected, like that a bevy of emotions
Yeah.
or like things like that when people are intoxicated.
Yeah.
I think part of it is expected, and then like they know when to like. There's a line.
Yeah. For sure.
But yeah, so Jacob kind of takes pity on Kyle, and he was just like, I'm gonna help you. Like, meet me at the meet me at the mall tomorrow.
Yeah.
We're gonna make your wife regret. Jesus Christ, regret. Uh,
With that.
we were doing baby talk last night.
Yeah.
We're gonna make her regret cheating on you and leaving you or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, so the next scene we see Hannah. She's at like some celebration. I think they're celebrating like her graduating law school and potentially like eventually passing the bar.
hmm
And like, so her boyfriend is just like, the next time we have this conversation is going to be like very special or something like
Yeah.
that. And like, so she leans over and she's just like, is he gonna like propose? And
hmm
like her best friend is like, oh, I hope not. Like because she's like, one, she's still thinking about Jacob. Her best friend is still thinking about Jacob, but I think she also sees Hannah going down a very mundane life
Yeah.
with her current boyfriend. And
And
then, like I
even
said,
worse too, like worse than mundane. He just doesn't. You get from the few scenes with this boyfriend, he just doesn't really care that much, or he's just kind of like. Not only is he boring, he's also just like I don't know, just like it's. Yeah.
I mean, it's Josh Groban. What do you expect?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The weirdness of these. Maybe it's just like how they did maybe these things aren't all in the same place. It's just
Mhm.
how they how the director set things up in the background. Because in the background of this restaurant that they're at, I mean, it might be a Chili's or a Friday, so it's like not that fancy. But it was like in the background we do see Cal walking because he's meeting Jacob at the mall. So like I was saying, I don't know if this was the director's choice or it's actually the same setting type of thing. I do not know.
Yeah, but wait, so Cal was in the background when that was going on?
Yeah. So it was like initially you saw Cal like kind of like searching for Jacob, and then it kind of transitioned to Hannah in the restaurant.
Yeah. So 100%, they just hang out at the mall. This is
I don't know what mall this is, how many acres of land it covers.
But it has, well, we know it has Macy's because he got cologne. We know it has some kind of fancy bar, and we know it has like a Sizzler Chili's equivalent. And then there you go.
Oh, real quick, because you brought up Macy's. Like, so one of the nights where Cal was at the bar before he met Jacob, he had a friend come, kind of sit with him at the bar. So the guy has a bag of Macy, orders a Chardonnay or whatever, and fucking immediately just downs it. And it's because of the fact that he was just like, we chose Emily in your separation or whatever. And he's just like, I mean, I picked you. I did. But my wife, it's like, no. I was like, one, that's not democracy. Okay, you can't tell me to vote and then just tell me what the outcome's going to be. That's not how this works.
Well, no. So you were told to vote, but then you're just informed that you voted wrong. Slight difference. Yeah.
I get why people don't vote. It makes sense. But yeah, so Hannah's having that conversation about in the restaurant, and in the background we see Cal. He meets up with Jacob, and they just go on a shopping spree because he mentions about like, luckily for you, a guy your age, 16 outfits is really all you need.
That's it? That's all I need? Okay, cool. Yeah.
And so I think they started something. This is talking about the chemistry between them two, but it was like he kept slapping Cal. And it was like nothing really hard. It's like not like really swinging, but it was just like a subtle slap. And Cal's like really just accepts it. Like we talked about this earlier. It was just like he just there's no fight back. There's no push to Cal in any moment. It was just like he gets slapped and just kind of just accepts it.
Yeah.
And so they go on a little shopping spree. They get his haircut or whatever. I mean, then we just jump to a montage of like Jacob taking him to the same bar and like trying to get him to speak to women or whatever. And like Jacob's like kind of showing him his methods, and then showing Cal like where he's faltering. And it was like Cal just comes up, starts talking about his kids, starts talking about the fact that like he got cheated on and like things like that. That he sells insurance, and like Jacob's like, no, don't. What are you doing? Nobody wants to hear this or whatever. But excuse me. Yeah, so we just get a montage of like Cal basically failing at trying to pick up women, and Jacob being very successful.
Yeah, basically, because Cal's just like watching Jacob, but it's like kind of creepy because like Jacob would be in a booth, and then Cal's like right here on the other side of the booth, just watching and taking notes. And it's like, all right, man, cool.
So then we jump to Robbie, and he's in class, and he's in English class, learning about the Scarlet Letter. And he's texting Jessica like these long-winded like texts about like how much he loves her, because he told her he loved her like in the first scene, and she mentioned that like they're just too far apart. I think they're 4 years apart. He's 13, she's 17.
Yeah,
and then like he's sending her text messages about like, well, Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher are like 15 years apart.
It's totally fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
And like she's ignoring him, and like she sends a message back, basically not reciprocating his feelings, and so he just his teacher sees him texting, so that she calls him out, and in this moment he just has an outburst. Whatever, he's like, "You want to talk about the Scarlet A? It stands for asshole." It says asshole. And I'm sorry to say an asshole so much. It reminded me of fucking just now Superbad, when Jonah Hill was like, nobody wants to make the shitty food. And he was like, I don't give a fuck. And then she was like, I'm sorry for cursing. But yeah, so like because of his outburst, he gets sent to the principal, and his mom comes to pick him up, and like. I love this too. Like talk about like performances and chemistry. Like she was like Julianne Moore like really played a mom in this moment, where it's just like she like reprimanded him like telling him like, what he did was wrong, but
Mm-hmm.
also not like beating him down. She was just like, she goes, she was like, yeah, that does seem like she's an asshole or something like that. Like she played it off where it was just like, and it was like the perfect parent where it was just like, yeah, he was reprimanded, but he still feels loved, and like you really got to see their relationship as mother and son, like very very subtly, like, and I can really appreciate that
For sure. Yeah, because I completely agree, because she also knows that her son's going through a hard time. It's a divorce, right? So she knows her son's going through a hard time. So it's like, cool, you know what you did is wrong. And then, as you said, then it's like, then we can like build it up and like kind of like make a joke about this and still be like a loving relationship, which is like, you know, take notes. That's how you should probably treat your kids if you're going through a divorce.
And so, she takes Robbie to her office or whatever, and this is where he meets David Lindhagen, because obviously his dad said the full name,
Lind fucking Hagen.
And so like we get this very interesting exchange between them two, like where David is trying to like, so clearly David feels more for Emily than she feels for him. Yeah, like for like. Because, and it was like, you can tell, like, because of Cal's deficiencies in their marriage or whatever, like, David noticed that, like, she got a haircut or, like, just something simple as that. Yeah. And, like, kind of I think that's what drew her in, because her husband wasn't, like, seeing her. And so, like, some guy was, and, like, that's why she kind of committed adultery or whatever, but like, or whatever, small thing, yada 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 yada. But you do see like that regret, that remorse. So it's like he's really feeling her, and like wants to continue the relationship, and like she's really not into it. And so like he meets her son, and like he's once again trying to be like, hey little man, what's up, like type of shit like that. And Robbie, knowing who he is, was like, nah, fuck that. So he has like it was like very much like what is it, the Godfather like moment where he's just sitting there like, all right, here's what's gonna happen. Like, you had your little fling with my mom. Yeah. But my mom and my dad are meant for one another. Yeah. So I'm gonna need you to step aside. And then like he's having this very serious moment with it. Like David sits down across from him, and like Robbie like lifts his chair up so he's like looking down at him. He the higher, yeah. And then like he has a serious moment, and then like his mom comes in, and he's like, "Hey, yeah, mommy, can we have Chinese today?" And it was like, just flipping a switch. It was like, "Oh, this kid's psychotic. I love it." Yeah,
it's true. They're kind of taking back what I said. There are really solid, good scenes with Robbie in the movie. 100%.
That's what I'm saying. Like I said, it had nothing to do with the actor. I think he was fine. Yeah. His whole performance. It was like, I think it was just the character itself, because of the fact that like at young love, like you do not give a fuck, right? Like, you don't care how you look. You really want to like let this person know how you feel, type of thing. Yeah. And it was like, it's something to be commended, because so often it's like men especially are like accused of not being vulnerable or anything like that. So like seeing this teenager, right? Because especially with all these going through, really doing these grand gestures of love is appreciated. Once again, it's annoying to me because I'm a grown ass man and I refuse. But has nothing to do with the actor and the character. But yeah, so Robbie meets David, and then we jump to Cal. Like they're back at the bar or whatever, and like Jacob is like, I think you need to talk to a woman, right? Or whatever. Not talk to, but it was like you need to pick up a woman. Yeah. And so he scouts this little bit older woman, but it's Marissa Tomei, so she's timeless. Yeah, exactly.
So it's a gorgeous woman. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So he's like, but he's once again doing his like reconnaissance. He was just like, that's the woman for you. Yeah. And so Cal goes up, and he was like, initially Cal's like, you haven't taught me anything. I just saw you pick up women. And then like he starts rambling about what he's seen from Jacob, and he realizes the whole time he's been Miyagi. He's been learning. He was wiping windows, but also learning karate. Yeah.
Miyagi is now a verb, is just chef's kiss, just like.
But yeah, so he realized that he has been learning in this time that he's been with Jacob. So he goes up to this woman. Her name is Kate, and like so initially he like offers her a drink or whatever, and she's like, "Oh no, no." She says no. He was like, "I'm gonna get you a drink," like being very persistent. Yeah. He goes, "I'm 5 years sober." Yeah. And like, oh, I'm so sorry. But it was like, no, it was funny because he kind of waved the waitress over. She comes over. He was like, get out of here, get out of here, move.
Never come back. Never come back ever again.
And so like he's trying these different moves. So it's like Jacob was like saying how like he doesn't ask. No, actually, no. Cal was saying this. He doesn't ask questions.
Yeah.
Like no, he doesn't say anything about himself. He like kind of forces the woman to like really speak about herself, and it was
Yeah.
like, oh, that's boring or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But because it's Jacob, it's in a charming way, you
Yeah.
know. It's like so like
Well,
what's her
also
name?
too, I wonder if like because we're about to find out all of Jacob's things have been with much younger women as well.
Yeah,
And she's an older woman, so like some of these games don't really work for
yeah,
older women, my dude. Like they just they're going to see through a lot of the bullshit. Like
yeah.
yes, you're very styled, yes or whatever, but like when you have these very shallow interactions, no, an older woman who knows what's up is going to be like, you're cool.
I think you're right because what gets her so like Cal like asks her what she does, but it really doesn't care. Like doesn't talk about himself.
Yeah,
and then like Kate is turned off by this. She was just like, you're trying to pick me up, but like it's a very shallow, you know, exchange. And then he kind of like he breaks and he's like, I'm so sorry, like you know, my wife was cheating on me, like with David. And like I think that honesty is what, like you said, it was like what Jacob's formula works on a younger woman, but it wouldn't work on an older woman. So it was just like what really got Kate in this moment was just like his honesty. So it was like he says all this stuff about like what's going on in his life, and he was like, "I'm supposed to tell you, you know, you God damn it, I can't remember
you're the perfect blend of
yes,
pretty and cute or something like that.
Yeah,
or beautiful and cute. Yeah, or sexy.
And so like that's what gets her. So it's like they end up at his apartment or whatever, and like she just keeps asking him to be honest.
Yeah.
Whatever. And so he's successful. He's picked up a woman at the bar. They have sex or whatever. Yeah. And then after that, you do see a change in his demeanor. He's a lot more confident.
Yeah.
And so like he's back at the bar, like utilizing those techniques still, but it was just like he's a lot more confident.
Yeah. And now I think he probably is using the actual techniques and not talking about being cuckolded by David Lindhagen the entire time.
And then we jump to the school or whatever, and like right before, so like I forgot to say this last time, but it was like Jessica speaks to one of her classmates, a more like seasoned or like promiscuous classmate of hers, like talking about like how do you get an older guy, because we said earlier like Jess is attracted to Cal. And so the girl was telling, oh, you got to send a nude. You got to do all this. And then like, at the same time we get Robbie doing this grand gesture at the school. Like, so he's on a stage, like in the middle of the quad or some shit like that.
He makes like a scaffold, like from the Scarlet Letter, to like stand up for Professor's love.
And he has like a red letter J on his chest. And she's like, Robbie, you can't keep doing like, she's like, I'm into somebody else. Basically, she tells him, it's like, I'm in love with someone else. Yeah. And so it has nothing to do with our ages. It was just like, I'm just in love with someone else. And so then we jump to a parent teacher conference between Emily and Cal. They're sitting outside of a classroom waiting to talk to one of Robbie's teachers. And this is the first time that Emily has seen him. Since they separated. Yeah. And so like he, obviously he's changed. He's like, he's wearing better clothes, and he mentions, and like you mentioned earlier, it was just like the fit of the clothes. It's like it's interesting that you can just tell like that things are like baggy or some shit like that. But it was like he's like changed his clothes, he got a haircut, and obviously he's more confident now. And it's something that she takes notes to. But it was like what I also loved in this scene was like we learned that they've been married, like they got together when they were teenage, like in high school. Yeah. So, like freshman year of high school. Like, and so, but you can tell like they still have that love for one another, or like just, there was like a very sweet moment of like them just like sitting with another and not being bitter or anything like that. Right. Cause I think so often in either film or just like in media, like you see divorce as something being like very, I hate this person and I want their, downfall or some shit like that. Yeah. But it was like just sweet to see that like they separated, but there's still love there. And so like even Cal admits to like not fighting, and we talked about this in the restaurant and on the drive home. It was just like like I said, I don't know if he was just numb to life or just numb to that moment.
Yeah.
But like he even apologized to her for not fighting for them.
Yeah. And that's what they talk about, even like, and by no means are we saying that manhood means you have to sleep with a lot of women, but like Ryan Gosling does tell him, Jake, is like, he lost his manhood, right? Of like, he lost that, like, the ability to be more assertive, to feel things, to like fight more for what you want, you know, which goes into that too. So like, he lost that part of him. So I think definitely, since he no longer knew how to access some of those parts, he couldn't have fought for her at the time. Him learning how to do all these other things has like helped him regain that idea of like, no, he can actually fight for the things he loves and cares about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so like they have this sweet moment, and then like the teacher is revealed.
Yep.
And the teacher is Kate, the woman that the first woman that he had sex with. And I think, like I said, we talked about this earlier. But it was like I appreciated this moment because it was like so often movies try to do like plot twists and dun dun duns and like these moments, but it was just like, and because of it, and we talked about this with Argyle, because like with so many plot twists, it's like after a while, okay, fine, you're not surprising me, like you're not shocking me.
Yeah.
But I think this movie did it very well. It was like very, once again, since it's so grounded, and I think people are expecting crazy. Like this moment was technically crazy, right?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. It's just like,
but it was still grounded in realism.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that he's going to a bar in his like neighborhood or like maybe 15 miles from his house. It was like, you're going to meet people that you know in like or in a circle, right? And so Kate is revealed to be Robbie's English teacher. Which somebody I was reading when I was doing research for this was like somebody said it was like subtly shown in the scene where he was like he had his outburst of the Scarlet Letter. Like you saw like some bracelet that the teacher, when she was writing on the board, like bracelet she was wearing at the bar. But it's like it's subtle. It's very much a Fight Club thing. It was like it's a second viewing thing to show. And like that's what I said. I could appreciate it because it was like it's not necessarily a plot twist. It's a reveal. But that's not like, oh, that can't happen type shit. But it's also, like I said, it's something like you see as something different with multiple viewings.
For sure. Yeah.
But yeah. So like Kate and Cal recognize one another, obviously, because Cal, basically a one night stand. He had sex with her, then just never called her,
ghosted her. Yeah.
And so like she's trying to keep it cool. As best as she could. Yeah. And Cal's like really like stoic, and they're like trying to learn about like how Robbie's been doing. But Kate is very like just disheveled.
Yeah. Well, because Kate, like, because Cal told her, he was like, "Oh, I'm divorced and everything," but I guess they're still probably just in the separation process. Still very clearly, and she's like, "Oh, your wife, interesting." Yeah, and she got Marissa Tomei did a phenomenal job of like the whole like bug-eyed, like, "Oh, you don't say," snap.
That's what I'm saying. Like she's trying to like what's her name? Because Emily is obviously out of the loop.
Yeah,
she's just trying to learn about her son's performance this year. And Marissa Tomei, Kate just keeps getting distracted by the fact that like this guy that goes to her is like sitting in front of her, and he's married. And
he lied, even though like he was telling the truth about so many things, but he turned out to be a liar, like the rest of them. Yeah.
And like so she blurts out the fact that like they had sex or whatever, and like so like Emily like runs out of the room. Cal chases her, and like he's like, because they had the moment right before, right? So it is this thing was like, they're like, I think you're correct in saying that, and it's not something I realized. It was like they're separated, not divorced or whatever. So it's like there is that they're still, I guess they're still in the process.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just like so he goes outside, he chases her or whatever, and like he admits the fact that he's had since they've been separated, he's had like sex with like 9 women.
Yeah.
And before that, it was just her or whatever.
That's quite the percentile increase.
And I think it was also interesting too, is like she was the one that like wanted the divorce, the one that cheated, and still like he takes that burden on himself.
Yeah,
he never says it was like, well, you did this or like shit like that. He's very much apologetic to like his reaction or like the things that happen after their separation.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm jumping to start. Oh yeah, so while that's happening with Cal in the parent teacher conference, we jump to Hannah, and I think she's past the bar, and like so she's at another celebration with her boyfriend, her best friend, and like certain colleagues, and her boyfriend like says, you know, I told you there was going to be something special was going to happen after you pass the bar, and like so she was assuming that he was going to propose, but instead he asked her to join his team at the law firm or some shit like that, and
Yeah.
like for something like she just kind of just snaps, and
Yeah.
like so she goes to. And then once again, this is why I think it was at the same goddamn mall because she just walks to the bar that
Well,
Jacob's at.
she had to get wet, so it was by the mall, but it was like pouring down rain, so she
Respect.
had to like walk out.
Respect. Okay.
Yeah.
Details. I respect it. Okay.
Right.
But it was like, yeah, so she leaves whatever restaurant they were at to go to the bar that Jacob's at. And he's, you know, talking to some lady. And she just she says, she walks up to him and says, "Do you still think I'm hot or whatever?" And he goes, "Yes." And like so she just kisses him. So, so they just leave. And it was so funny. The woman that he was talking to was just like, I guess I just fucked myself.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, cool. Well, and something that's so great with this, and I'm bringing it up now, is she took charge of all of this. Like, she was the one that approached him. She was the one that kissed him first. And even on the way out, she's like, "You think I'm cute, right? You want to do this? Then let's do it." And then she grabs his hand and yanks him along. So this man has no idea what the fuck's going on because this doesn't happen to Jacob. Yeah, right. It's just, holy crap, this is changing the game a bit. So, yeah.
And yeah, so like they go to his house or whatever, and like he has this fucking amazing house.
Oh, of course.
And like they're having a drink or whatever, and like they're talking. And she's like, "What do you know? Kind of, what's your move? Like, what? how do you get women? Because obviously, like you said, she initiated all this. It's a little bit different usually.
Yeah.
And so he mentions that he offers to do like the dirty dancing like move or whatever, or like
which, for the record, very challenging to do if your partner's not experienced with it. Because you can be strong as you want, but like,
so interesting, a bit of trivia when I was doing the research, like the first time they did that scene, right? So like she runs, she jumps into his arm, and he holds her above his head. Yeah. She realized that she had a fear of like a very selective fear of heights or something like that.
Yeah.
And like, so she freaked out. Like Ryan Gosling in like later interviews said that it was like a raccoon falling out of a tree or some shit like that, or a squirrel falling out of a tree. Because like she was like kind of clawing at him to get down, and he was like confused as shit. And like even it was like an involuntary reaction because I think when she was a child, she fell out of a tree and broke both her arms or whatever. And so like her reaction to doing this scene. Yeah, it's like she's screaming and freaking out, like so she had to go like into another room and like kind of lay down. And so like this scene when they do it, it's a stunt double or whatever.
That makes sense.
They did use her actual screams from the initial shot. Yeah, I think it also just speaks to when we talked about this earlier, was like the chemistry between Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone. It was like this was the first of 3 movies that they did like back to back to back, just because of the fact that they just have such chemistry.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I feel like they did this one, Gangster Squad might have come out in like 2013, and then fucking La La Land came out in 2017. So it was like a very short time that they did 3 movies together. Yeah. But yeah, so after he does like they do the dirty dancing move, whatever. You can tell she was like, "Oh yeah, that works." And then so she was like, she was saying how like, "Oh, you know, we're gonna have sex, we're gonna do this," because I think a bit of it too is like her friend talking about how like PG-13 and like how vanilla her life is or whatever. So it's like she's trying to like she wants to have a one night stand, like she wants to just have sex with some random guy at the bar, like type shit like that. She wants to like an experience life, and so first I think they dance a bit or whatever, and then like they're in bed and like she's just like as he's like kissing her and stuff like that, she's just like rambling about random shit, like asking him questions and stuff like that. And so like he stops, and then like next thing you know, like it's out, like maybe like minutes later, I don't know how much time has elapsed, but like they're just talking about themselves, right? And like this is where we get kind of a background with Jacob, because he was like, it was interesting. He said, "Ask me anything about myself." Yeah. Or whatever. Because I don't think it's something that I don't think it's something that happens often for him. And it was like Cal mentioned earlier, it was like he keeps his, he keeps a lot of things like tight to the vest. I mean, it was like he doesn't really exposit much about himself at all. Like not even to Cal, who he considers a friend.
Yeah.
Obviously not with women, but it was like even to like the men in his life or like the friends that he people that he considers friends, he doesn't really speak about himself. And
Hmm.
so like in this moment, she asked about his mom, and he
Yeah.
says, you know, his mom was great, just very like in charge or like or something like that.
Hmm.
And then he talks about his dad who passed away when he was like, you know, fairly young. And you could tell like he loved his dad, but he mentioned something about the fact that like his dad was brilliant, but very, I guess, quiet. He was a very like an introverted, quiet man, and
Hmm.
so like he couldn't really, I don't want to say control his mom, but like the mother was possibly like just overbearing in that relationship,
Hmm.
where just like his dad was very much like very submissive and like
Yeah.
very much like Cal. And I think maybe I'm just seeing it now. I
Yeah.
think maybe that's why he was kind of drawn to Cal, wanting to change his life because you can see like Jacob, because of the relationship between his mother and his father,
Hmm.
he won't let women take charge of him. Like
Yeah.
he won't be submissive in any relationship. And I
Hmm.
think that's what, like I think that's why he was like kind of drawn to Cal because he saw his dad in Cal, and he
Yeah.
was like, "Oh no, we can't have this. If I could do it again, I
Yeah.
would show my dad how to stand up for himself." Right?
Hmm.
Damn it, that's
Yeah.
interesting. I just
Oh, for sure. Because I think you look at that, and then you look at like I think he also mentions with his dad being kind of like goofy and kind of like
yeah,
a little, like, which is Cal to a T. So he absolutely
hmm
sees a father figure. And then if you look at like him talking about how his mother really took charge, and then
yeah,
like even though he was like, oh, I don't like this, but then since that was like the relationship he knew growing up, so what happens when he meets another woman who like can take charge and do that? It's like here's a new interest. And I'm not saying all guys fall for their mothers or anything like that, those weird things that people have said.
hmm
But like the whole like when you see like some similarities like this of like the relationships that like the relationships you grow up seeing other people have are the relationships sometimes you yourself can think,
yeah. 'Cause that's your blueprint. Like that's
exactly.
yeah,
Hmm. So like having this attractive, smart, beautiful woman capable of taking charge, but then also like capable of being like tender and caring. And this is all, like Emma Stone's character is like Hannah. It's just like, okay, he's going to fall quick for this one.
hmm
Yeah.
And so then we jump to I think Emily and David are out on a date or something like that.
Hmm.
And then like she comes home and what's her name? Jessica kind of like calls her out. Like she says, "I don't want your whore money."
Yeah.
And like because she talked, and this is what you were saying before. It was just like she talks about how like out of all the families that she babysits
Hmm.
for, um, her kids are the ones that like wait up for their dad
Yeah.
or
Like the
whatever. And it
older
was just like,
ones, basically.
yeah, and it was just like because Cal's such a good guy, and it was basically telling her it was like you fucked up.
Yeah.
Uh,
You
and
fucked
then
up, you're a bitch. I hate you, and he's mine now. Yeah.
but it's just so funny. She goes, "I don't want your whore money." And runs away, and then
Yeah.
Emily's like, "Whore."
Yeah. Like, what the fuck? Yeah.
This is once again, this is like just the subtlety of the
Yeah.
these performances. She's a whore.
Okay.
And then we see so earlier in the movie, like really quickly, Cal had a nightmare about David basically like mowing the lawn, like just
Yeah.
doing stuff for Emily. And so like at night, and this has been happening throughout the movie. At night, he's been kind of cleaning up the yard and like doing yard work at the
Mhm.
house. And so he's there that night or whatever.
They gotta realize, you know what I mean? She's like, why do these bushes keep getting
It's like, but no, so they probably don't because of the fact that since he was doing it the whole time, it's not something that they registered.
Oh, fair. But I mean, you just don't hear the lawnmower going off in the middle of the night.
It's the quietest lawnmower. It's my same issue with the quiet place
Yeah, fair.
where they have the world's quietest baby
Yeah. Yeah. I
in
mean,
a pandemic where like you got monsters that are sensitive to sound. Yeah, let's
yeah.
have a baby. Let's have the world's quietest baby.
Hey, they
That's
needed
what
to
they're
be able
known
to
for.
move on. All right, they need
That's why I can't watch that movie. It doesn't make sense.
that.
Even my nephew's whispering is too loud. Like,
Yeah, hey, like, oof, yeah.
it's like, bro, I don't need you to be right here and yelling.
Yeah, it's
It's not whispering. But anyway, so like, yeah, Cal's in the yard, like doing yard work, and he sees like Emily giving I don't know what this baby talk is. I totally apologize. I'm so sorry.
Hey, you know, look, you had an interesting night. That's all I'm going to say. You know.
But yeah, so he sees Emily giving the kids like dessert. They're eating ice cream, and then like she walks off and she calls. She makes a call,
Hmm.
and she calls him.
Yeah.
She's like, I something there's something wrong with like the pilot light or something like that. And
Yeah.
but he can see that she's not in the basement or whatever. She just
Hmm.
wanted to call him,
Yeah.
and like so he coaches her through restarting the pilot light or whatever. And like she's pretending to actually do the whatever steps he's giving her.
Yeah.
Um, and then he's watching her the whole time. And I think this ignites something in him where he was like, "Oh, I need to fight for this woman." Because like she clearly like she misses me and stuff like obviously something has happened.
Hmm.
And he had also had a moment with Robbie earlier because of the fact that like so now Robbie's kind of disillusioned
Hmm.
because he's been trying so much with Jessica or whatever, but nothing's working.
Yeah.
And so like they're playing catch outside of Cal's apartment, and Robbie was just basically just says like because speaking of like Jesus Christ, I'm connecting dots right now.
Sure.
But
Sure.
like when you were saying with like how Jacob's parents were like the blueprint to his understanding of relationships,
Hmm.
in the same way that's what Robbie is
Yeah.
because he knows that his parents met in high school. Like so, it's very much this like grand love story. So like that's what he's emulating. That's what he's expecting with love.
Hmm.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ, I figured it out. But
It's all
but so like
coming
yeah,
together. Yeah.
yeah, Robbie was basically telling his dad, like, you got to fight for the one you love, right? Like, that's
Hmm.
what you do. Like,
Yeah.
that's what his dad taught him. That's what he knows, or whatever. So, like, in this moment, he's watching Emily, like, call him. She doesn't
Hmm.
need anything, but, like, she just wants to hear from him, wants to talk to him. And
Hmm.
so it ignites something, and he was like, I need to fight for this woman.
Yeah. And that's
And
good.
so,
So much of his character with all of this, because even like when they were going through the divorce process, Cal was just like, "This is how you take care of the home. This is everything you do."
mhm,
It's very much like the traditional, like anything house related, like pilot lights, lawns, blah 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 blah. He's doing all that. So then he's telling her all these instructions. So like that is like something that they can kind of connect. So when you know she wants to talk to Cal and can't remember and doesn't know what to say, she knows that, like, all right, well, you know what I can do? I can at least go this way, and
mhm,
Emily can like talk to him about that. So it's just such like a key moment of the relationship where it's like she wants so much for him to be involved in some way still, and he can see this
mhm.
now too. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ. Oh, so,
Yeah.
sorry. It was such a profound statement. I was just like, I
Yeah.
got
Just mind blown, mic drop. All right, I'm out.
get
Later. All
him
right,
out. That's my time.
yeah.
And so Cal asked for the kids' help to do something
Hmm.
or whatever. And so at the same time, like so like he's at the hardware store or whatever. He sees like his friend who he's not allowed to talk to, talk to anymore. And
Yeah.
he's just like he's very determined
Yeah.
to do something. And so he's also been like leaving messages to Jacob, but Jacob hasn't been answering. Been going to the bar, hasn't seen him.
Yeah.
And so
Jacob's
finally
been gone for like a week or two, just
yeah.
missing out.
And
Yeah.
so finally Jacob resurfaces. He calls Cal. He's at like some liquor store or something. And he
Hmm.
was just like, he's calling Cal like one to apologize for like being absent, but
Yeah.
also was like, I think I think I'm in love or whatever.
Yeah.
He was like, it's so crazy. Like I'm gonna go meet her mom right now.
Hmm.
And like Cal was like, oh God, it's. And I think once again, I love the chemistry, the banter between the two. Because
Hmm.
initially he's just like kind of joking at him, was like, oh, you're meeting girl's mom, like that's a regular night for you type of thing. And
Yeah.
then he goes like, oh, you're gonna be fine, like you're charming, you're all this, like you're gonna do good. Than meeting this woman's mom or whatever. And then so like Emily arrives home and like Robbie's standing outside the door and he was like, I'm supposed to blindfold you or whatever. He was like, don't ask any questions. Like this, I'm just doing my job. And so
Yeah.
like he blindfolds his mom. He walks her back to the
Also,
backyard.
right. Quick pause
Oh
right
yeah.
there. After the Jessica said, "I don't want to take your whore money," she goes and she takes the naked pictures of herself.
Yes. Oh yeah. You're right. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. At the same time, yeah. So she
Shit
takes
was
the.
about to get crazy. Right?
So here we go. Pepe Sylvia, baby.
Mhm.
But so yeah. So Jessica, at the same time, just to jump back a little bit, she takes naked photos of herself because of the advice from her classmate.
Mhm.
and her mom goes in her room and finds those photos, and then
Yeah.
so she also shows them to her dad, and I
Yeah.
think they didn't have like the pictures were in an envelope, right?
Yeah, the
And
picture
then
was an envelope that said Cal on the front.
okay, that's what
He
I
didn't
think it was something I didn't. When I was watching it the other day, like maybe I looked away because I knew it was going to happen, so it didn't register. But I was like, uh, clearly it said cow because like her dad like is fucking immediately angry and
yeah.
like just leaves the house.
And also,
Whatever.
too, like it's like it's funny just because she's a high school girl, right? So she's a high
Mhm.
school girl, confused, doesn't know. So she's like, I know what I need to do. I need to send this man naked pictures. But even on the envelope, she writes it all cutesy. She has like little cutout hearts and stuff on it, and she's like trying to tell this man. She was like, "Look, I'm not a child anymore. I'm a woman that you can love." And like
And then,
here, little hearts and like the little
you know
twirly.
what's funny? There was a fucking TikTok thing where it was just like every girl in history class
Yeah.
when they're doing the calligraphy on their notebooks,
Yeah.
and it was just like the word they were writing was slavery, and but it was like really stylized.
Stylized, looks all nice. Like, uh,
But yeah, so her parents find the pictures. Her dad, is livid, so he goes to talk to Cal because he assumed, he's a fucking dad, so he assumes that like this man that he trusts
mhm.
is taking advantage of his daughter,
Well,
and
look,
so
all right. He broke up with Cal, all right. So now Cal does what Cal wants, motherfucker. All right.
and now Jessica's dad is on the way
Mhm.
to Emily's house, which is weird that he went there.
I
I
guess
guess
that's just the house that he knows. But yeah, no, that's true. That's a
that
good.
is weird that he went there, knowing
Yeah.
that they're separated.
Yeah.
But yeah, so while that's happening, while Jessica's dad is on the way,
And Jessica's
um,
right behind him in another car.
and
Like Jessica,
Jessica's right behind him.
yeah, then, yeah.
Um, Robbie has blindfolded his mom, walked her to the backyard, and like Cal's like kind of talking to her. So he's basically recreated their first date.
Mhm.
I think they went to mini golf. So
Yep.
like he's created this little mini golf thing in the backyard, and he's just talking about the fact that it was like he's loved her. He's loved her since since that first date. Like it was like they went for ice cream and they went to mini golf, and
Mhm.
like so he's giving her this speech or whatever, and as he's giving a speech, Hannah walks in,
Yeah.
and it was like this is another talking about like it's not a plot twist, it's just a reveal, but
Mhm.
it fits so well into the story. So you find out that
Absolutely.
Hannah is their daughter that they had when they were in high school,
Mhm.
and that's kind of why. I mean, one, she's an adult, she's about at least like 24 or something like
Yep.
that.
Yeah. It's
But
lost. Yeah.
yeah, that's why you don't kind of see it like Hannah does Hannah or
Mhm.
whatever. And so like she comes in, she greets her mom or whatever, and then right behind her is Jacob. But and like so he's standing at the door
Mhm.
or whatever, and like he says, Cal, what are you doing here? And like they see one another. It was like, what are you doing here?
What are you doing here? Yeah.
And it was like one another, and it was like such chaos because like Emily's still blindfolded, so like she takes the blindfold off, she sees Jacob, she's like, oh Hannah, honey, he's cute, yada yada, and like Cal, knowing how Jacob operates,
Mhm.
and, like his relationship with women, he's like, oh no, you can't date, you
Yeah.
can't be here with my daughter.
He's like,
I don't,
absolutely.
I don't care like that we're friends or whatever, like,
Yeah.
which is interesting too because of the fact that it was like seeing how Cal moved, but it was like you have a daughter, like so,
Mhm.
like how you're not thinking of this, outside of
Yeah. But those are other people's daughters. So, whatever, man. It's not my daughter. Yeah, that's
that's
what.
man math. I get it. All right, fine.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at the same time, like there's this chaos between Jacob, Cal, Hannah, or whatever, and then finally Jessica's dad shows up and like he like kind of tackles and attacks Cal.
Yeah.
And he was like, "You sending like you got my daughter sending you pictures," and he was like, "What the fuck are you
You're like,
talking
what are you
about?"
talking about right now? Yeah.
And like so they roll around fighting or whatever, and then like Jessica comes and she was like, "Dad, he doesn't know,"
Yeah.
and he was like, "Doesn't know." He was like, "That I'm in love with him."
Yeah.
And then like Robbie's there obviously as well, and he's
Mhm.
like, "This is the man that you're in love with," because she had told him she was in love with somebody else.
Yeah.
And so like, what's his name? So they're not fighting at this point. Like sorry, Cal and Jessica's dad, they're not fighting because like
Yeah.
she's just revealed that she's in love with him and he doesn't know or whatever. So obviously Cal's innocent in this
Yeah.
situation. And then who steps up but David Lindhagen?
David Lindhagen. I mean,
I can't wait to finish this because I keep saying this man's full name. I don't like saying people's full name.
That was the joke of the movie. It's got to. Lindhagen.
It's like Dinkelberg.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so fucking David shows up, and because Emily left like a scarf on their like date before, or like the date a few days before, and so like he says his name is David Lindhagen, and Jacob immediately was like, Lindhagen, say less. So he just walks over and punches David in the face. He was like, "You know how much pain you put my friend through?" Like, so he punches David. Yeah. Cal goes to attack Jacob for dating Hannah. Yeah. Jessica's dad attacks Cal for thinking that he's like having some situation with his daughter. And then David, after recovering from being hit, attacks Jacob for punching him. So it's just like these four guys just like hanging on to one another.
Very sad. Very dumb.
And it was just like all the women are just confused because it's like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah. And you get like all three of them just looking down at them, being like, "What are these dumb motherfuckers doing?" Yeah, and that's being a guy.
And so like the cops are called or whatever, and like the cop was just basically like, "If you're gonna fight, do it inside." Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Like whatever.
I was like, I don't think that's how that works, officer. Once again, not a cop. Can't barely a movie critic over here. Like I can't tell people how to do their jobs. I'm just saying, I do not think that's how that works.
I mean, that means if you're a cool cop, that's what you do. All right, yeah.
Their badge is a sticker, yeah. But so this is where you get the all is lost moment, right? Mm-hmm. So like Cal's mad at Jacob, for dating Hannah. Most everybody else is just mad at Cal because of his like promiscuities and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And so like you see Robbie deletes. Oh, Robbie's mad at Cal, because he didn't do anything, but like the woman he's in love with is in love with his dad.
Exactly, he's a 13-year-old boy. He can't think straight. Yeah,
so like he deletes Jessica's number or whatever, and I'm just like, cool. How do I find that'll delete the thread, guy? Relax. Yeah. But interesting thing here, like what trivia that I was doing, like that I found was one of the names under Jessica was Joey K. Okay, which is the name of the actress that played Molly, the younger sister. Because her name is Joey King or whatever. Okay. We don't talk much about Molly, but I want to jump back to there was a scene, like there was a moment with her as Jacob walks outside or whatever at the house before like all the chaos. Yeah. And like he's kind of getting reprimanded by Cal, and like so they tell Molly to go inside, and Jacob goes, "Can I come with you?" And she was like, "No." And I was like, "Okay, all right." Like Molly didn't do much in the movie, but like that was very funny to me.
Yeah. Well, she's like a little girl. Like, how old was she in this movie? She would have been.
She had to have been like maybe 8 at best. Yeah. I don't know kids' ages.
Yeah, man.
She could have been 40 years old. I do not know children's ages.
Yeah.
But yeah, so everybody's mad at one another, and then so Cal's at the bar again at 2:30 in the afternoon. Because like, which is funny because like he asked the bartender, like, so the bartender asked him, "Does he want another one?" And he goes, "What time is it?" And she says 2:30 p.m. And he was like, "Thank you, bartender person, asshole." And then like so he orders another drink or whatever, and then like as he's ordering a drink, Jacob shows up because we do see also as we see like Robbie delete Jessica's number, we see Hannah and Jacob at his house. Yeah. And he's like, "You should call your dad. You should call your dad." He's like really pushing for her to make amends with Cal. Yeah. Excuse me. And then like so he shows up. Jacob shows up at the bar or whatever, and he's just like, Cal, like, what are you doing? Like, I know you're mad at me or whatever, but it was just like, what are you doing? Like, first of all, like, how are you here and not at
Taking a lot
work.
of time off of work, yeah. Which,
Yeah.
hey, that guy's got a lot of nerve, considering he doesn't have a job. All right, he's got family money. All right, so like, you get out of here, buddy. All right. I don't even
He's like,
think.
you're a regular person. Go work.
Yeah.
Go work, you poor. Like,
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you're not me. All right, I have money. You don't. You need to get out there. Pull yourself up by the bootstraps, Cal.
but this is a very like it's a very good scene between them where it's just we were talking about earlier, right? Like he knows what Jacob does, like as far as like it's kind of a bit of a womanizer. It's just like, yeah, I mean, he's it's a one night stands, he ghosts people, ghosts women, and all that stuff like that. But Cal knew what sorry,
Like,
go ahead.
I would say I'm not going to call him a bit of a womanizer. I'm just, like, I'm just.
I don't want to be sued, so allegedly, I do not.
We never actually saw anything. We saw people leave, but that's all we ever saw. So
He could have just been politely walking them to their cars. We don't know. Once again, I do not want beef from Ryan Gosling's camp. I can't handle it right now. But yeah, so like I said, it's a sweet scene between Jacob and Kyle because he's just like, I had Hannah like when I was like 17. Like I watched her be born. I taught her how to ride a bike, drive a car. Like I taught all these things. It was just like, you can do whatever you want to, all these women, but that's Hannah. Like he didn't even say that's my daughter. He said that's Hannah, and they're like, that's what, as a dad, that's what he sees her as, right? And he just basically tells Jacob that you're not good enough for my daughter. He was like, I love you as a friend, but from what I know about you, you're not good enough for my daughter, or whatever. And so like Jacob, accepts that. He was like, he tells him, he's like, you're a great dad.
Yeah.
Like even though he didn't, he was like, because he was like, I'll never give you my blessing, and he was like, Jacob accepts that, but he was like, I mean, you're still a great dad, or whatever. And then like so he Jacob walks away, and the only reason I'm laughing is because of the fact that as he walks away, the bartender brings him a shot, and because he was like, he told Jacob not to order anything because he's probably going to spit in it because of like he had been an asshole to the bartender right before, and like so she brings him a shot, and he takes it. He was like, yep. She spit in that.
Yeah, she spit in that. Delicious. Yeah.
And so, what happens?
I think we go to the graduation, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So yeah, we go to the graduation Robbie's 8th grade graduation. So Cal arrives a little bit late, and he sees Hannah, Emily, Molly, and Jacob sitting together.
And this is like a weird thing. Like, how much time is passing right now? Like, I don't know. Like, at least a week or two, a couple weeks. I don't know.
So no. So you got to realize this is a full school year. This film.
Yeah. Well, no, for sure.
Like
the craziness.
So I assume he meets Jacob earlier in the school year. Like it's interesting to frame it because I guess the school year is what 9 months, 6 or like 8 months, something like that.
I guess technically like 10 months or whatever. But then there's all the breaks and stuff because they're off like July.
Well, so think about it, right? He meets Jacob. Like they get divorced. He meets Jacob. They go to the parent-teacher conference. Parent-teacher conferences is usually what, November or some shit like that?
Usually. Well, it depends. If it's the first one especially. Yeah.
But no, so that's what I'm trying to frame. I'm trying to frame it based on that, based on the school year. So it was like, you think November, maybe.
Yeah.
And then he's graduating in June.
Yeah. So maybe definitely at least May. So yeah. Like.
Yeah. So it's just like, it's been the totality of this movie is maybe 9 months.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what makes me because also I'm just thinking of like what stuff going on with Jake, because like Jacob's there seems to be very good with the rest of the family now. At this time, for the graduation. Yeah.
And so so he sees his family sitting with one another, so he kind of sits off by himself. We found out that Robbie is the salutatorian, so he's giving a speech. Yeah. And I told you this is another thing. This is the fucking rom-com trope. I'm sick of people giving speeches. I don't care if it's on they did it. Even I love Crazy Rich Asians, but it was just like I'm tired of people holding up public transportation in public moments to profess their love. Do that shit like the cop said. Do it inside, okay? Don't make this about everybody else. I'm just trying to get to Atlanta, okay? I don't need. And in this moment with Robbie, I'm just trying to graduate 8th grade, dummy. Okay, like can I do that? Am I allowed?
Yeah, like that'd be great. Hey, salutatorians are allowed to give speeches, all right? So he can talk about whatever the fuck he wants, all right? That's his goddamn.
I'm not breaking down the movie, the logic of that film in this moment. I'm just saying, give your speeches on your own time, okay? straight to the point. I already don't want to be here. But yeah, so like he starts giving a speech about like them graduating 8th grade and moving on, and then it just somehow goes into like him not believing in love, and that's when I was just like, oh, cut the mic. I don't understand. His graduation is 48 hours long. I'm just trying to get to the Applebee's for graduation dinner. And so, like, as he's giving this speech about like not believing in love and shit like that, his dad is like, "Stop, please, stop." And like, so he goes up and like he's basically gives a speech about how he fell in love with his wife on their first date in high school, and he's loved her ever since. He doesn't, he doesn't know where it's gonna go with them, but he was like, he doesn't see his love for her fading in any way.
Mm-hmm.
Like this reignites Robbie's passion or whatever.
Yeah.
And he goes, "I love you, Jessica, and I'll wait for you forever."
Yeah.
Like people are cheering, and it was like I feel like I would have been that one person that was like, "Can we please fucking give the speeches?"
Also, the fact. So I guess this is like a middle school and high school combined together. Because if he's in 8th grade, why is Jessica even at this thing right now?
No, I think actually, yeah, I don't. Yeah, because her family was there, right?
Her family was there, and
maybe she has a little sister, maybe,
but like,
because it's like that graduating class was maybe like 40 to 50 students. It's a very small class.
Yeah, it must be one of those like with like all the way through or whatever. Because even with that, and then we skip on to a second, but Robbie was able to interrupt Jessica's day in high school as a middle school.
True.
It's gotta be something like that.
Actually, yeah, was it? Yeah, is it across the street?
Yeah,
or maybe it is one of those hybrid schools,
like a campus which has more.
But well, you would assume once again, since this is a small town, like obviously with the ecosystem that they have with Cal and all that. Yeah, so it was like maybe it's a fairly small town where it's just like one school will rule them all. Yeah. But yeah, so Robbie, professes his love for Jessica, and they walk out. Robbie and Cal walk out so they can continue with this fucking graduation so I can get my fucking little diploma and go to 8th grade to go to high school. Yeah. And then so after the graduation ceremony, all the families are like out on the lawn, and Robbie goes to talk to Jessica or whatever, and like she's just like he was like, I'll wait for you. I don't okay. And she's like, she gives him an envelope, and she's just like, basically like not saying that there's still hope there, right? Even though there's an age difference or whatever.
Well, it's full of her naked pictures, and she says, "This will get you through high school." For the record, as a father, I'm not a father. As a father, though, I think I wouldn't really be that cool with this 17-year-old girl.
Hey. He probably kept it from his dad, guy. Relax.
I'm just saying.
He's going to Google it anyway. Relax.
I mean, fair, but I'm just kind of like, I don't know about all that now. But hey.
But yeah, so she gives him an envelope full of like her photos, like to get him through high school, as she says. And then, so as they're having this moment, Cal has a moment with Jacob and Hannah first, where he goes over to him and he's just like, treat her right, basically, or whatever. And then, like, so we see him like slap Jacob, a few times, and like Jacob just has to take it, like, or whatever. But you do see him accepting of Jacob dating it, because he does see, and I didn't mention this at the bar when they met up right before graduation, but he was just saying how like he's never felt this way about any woman. When talking about Hannah, and it was just like he truly does love her. Mm-hmm. So he's not, because even their first night they didn't have sex. Like they did all that talking and stuff like that, and getting to know one another, and never actually did the deed. Yeah. And I think it was like you do see that. I mean, granted, it is rom-com levels of development when it comes to like a character, changing his ways, but still it is some type of, development in his character. And so like Cal is accepting of Hannah and Jacob dating. Mm-hmm. And then he goes over to Emily, and like they talk and they're laughing or whatever. And you see like they still have feelings with one another. We had seen that earlier. And then it kind of just zooms to Robbie's perspective, him looking at his parents. And just kind of smiles, and you see that like there's hope there or whatever. And it was like, this is what we were talking about this earlier. It was just like, I never realized that Robbie was the main character apparently.
Yeah,
But
right. Like, this is all through his perspective. Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, and that's the end of the movie.
Cool. And that is the end of Crazy Stupid Love. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. We are the Meddling Kids. What we always like to do at the end of every episode is revisit our original rankings. So, Mike, you gave this movie a 3.5 out of 5. Does that stay? You changing? What do you think?
I'm gonna stick with the 3.5. I mean, that's not bad. Like I said, I really did enjoy this movie. I think what just took me out of it was like the rom com tropes. But
Sure.
like I said, I don't think that's a fault of the film. I just think
Mhm.
I watched so many movies that
Yeah.
like I'm getting very numb or very annoyed by like just the predictability of certain movies. But
Yeah.
no, I really enjoyed this one. Like I said, the performances were great, and even like seeing like certain nuances in like the story.
Yeah.
As I realized as we were reviewing it. So yeah, I'm gonna stick with the 3.5. But I really like this one.
Awesome, cool. And I gave it a 4.5, or I gave it a 4 out of 5 on up here. I'm sticking with a 4 out of 5. I really enjoy this movie. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's a really good example of realistic love and solid performances by all. So 4 out of 5 for me. But again, thank you so much for listening, everybody. We are the Two Meddling Kids. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can find us at Two Meddling Kids on Twitter and Instagram, or you can email us at twomeddlingkids@gmail.com. Mike, how can they reach out to you if they want to?
On Instagram at Days from Legendary.
Perfect. And if you'd like to reach out to me, I am at EdHunt77 on Twitter and Instagram, and Hunt.comics on Instagram and TikTok. I have a Hunt.comics TikTok now, too, where I do some stuff for my comic and talk about other comics. But that is everything from us, everybody. We will see you next week with a brand new movie. Catch you soon.
Bye.